become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it. Capitalism at its finest. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. It's like vodka. Look at 100 deals a day. I choose one. Relax, pal. First lesson in business, don't get emotional about stock. How's the judgment? It's all about bucks, kid.
Money never sleeps, pal. Just made 800,000 Hong Kong gold.
Hang on, baby Jesus, this is gonna get bumpy.
Good evening, stock traders, and welcome to Stock Traders Talk Radio here on a beautiful Wednesday night, February the 15th, 2012. I am your host, STT. Joining me on tonight's program, I have Hoss.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Fantastic, sir. How about yourself?
The Wild lost last night. I'm pretty sad right now, but I'll get over it in a couple of days.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Sorry to hear that. It's a long season, though. Don't worry. He's still got a chance. Also, joining me on the program tonight, I have QT Cal.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
I am fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing great. Thanks for asking.
That's good to hear. Not joining us tonight will be Sifakia. He's having an issue with his dog, so hopefully everything works out well and goes well with him. Also joining me on the program tonight is Cop.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? How's everybody?
I'm good, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, doing great. Nobody can get the whole idea of calling you STT. You getting that yet?
Yeah, I know. It's all good. It's all good. Nobody follows me on iHub. Yeah. Everybody else is getting 50, 60 a day. I got a total of 50.
You're loved here, man. You're loved here.
Yeah, I got even my own people are posting and leaving me out of the post. That's how bad it's gotten. Do my best to host this show every single night, and that's the respect I get from my co-host. Thank you. Thank you.
Aww.
Appreciate it. Oh, don't worry about it.
We'll show you some love, Mike. Don't worry.
Well, I know things that you guys don't know. Like the new setup I just ordered. It's going to be beautiful. Switchboards, microphones, brand new headset. All coming my way, people. All right. Now, here at Stock Traders Talk, everybody knows we strive to bring you the most exclusive CEO interviews possible. And we have achieved that once again tonight. Normally doing our interviews is Mr. Cop, so let's not change that up and turn it over to Mr. Cop. Take it away, sir.
Thanks, Mike. We're here with Mr. Bill Delgado, the CEO and President of Global Digital Solutions, Inc., stock ticker GDSI. That's GDSI. Mr. Delgado has a diverse history and background in the telecommunications infrastructure industry focused on engineering, installation, and construction. In this interview, I'd like to cover the background of the company, future projects, and developing trends that will affect the company over the next several years. Welcome to Stock Traders Talk Radio, Mr. Delgado.
Hi, Chris. I do appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Well, let's start with any time, sir. We know it's always difficult for CEOs to take time out of their busy day, and it's our pleasure. How about if we start with describing to our audience what your company does?
Well, what we do in a nutshell is we're obviously we're a microcap company, but we emulate a lot of probably the mid and larger cap companies. We do telecommunications infrastructure work, but we do it for not only the telephone companies such as AT&T and Verizon. We also do a lot of work for the federal government, specifically the Department of Defense, and a lot of the traditional contractors that people probably think of in the area of more of defense, General Dynamics, Boeing, and those types of companies, Northrop Grumman. They have very large IT and telecommunications divisions that they actually are awarded to very large federal government projects, and we work for those folks too.
Now, in basic detail, describe what your background experience is and a brief history of the company.
My background is primarily with the on the Bell Systems side of the business. Again, I started out with Pacific Bell. I hate to say how long ago it was, but it was in 1977. I started out in the field. I went into engineering and did my last 2 years of capital finance. I built up a company and actually sold it for about $29 million in 1999. Folks may remember a company named International Fibercom. And since then, we formed Global Digital actually back in 2004. And what we tried to do with that was we had a private company called Pacific Comtel, and we merged it into Global Digital and kind of went dormant for a little bit. We were looking for some financing, but we were approached just recently, last few months, probably last 6 months, from some very high-level folks in the business, and they asked us to get back in there and start going after some of these stimulus dollar projects, and here we are.
No, that's excellent. When you have names like General Dynamics and then background and the certain things that you're talking about, that's pretty impressive. What's the makeup of your board of directors or your team and your marketing team and the reasoning behind your team?
Well, basically right now what we do is I am the only member of the board currently. We're actually soliciting 2 board members, again, one with a similar background with the Bell System, actually one from an accounting, one of the big 5 accounting firms. I'm not at liberty, obviously, to announce his names yet until they come on the board. We have a pretty strong team. Again, a lot of Bell System, ex-Bell System guys. Our VP of Operations has been in this business for 40 years. Engineering manager at Bell was my VP of Operations at my previous company before I sold to International Fibercom. Our marketing group, same thing. A lot of strong background, software, IT, and IT sales, and obviously infrastructure sales also.
Now, how about if we go into your business direction or your objectives and your strategic objectives?
Well, really, again, we really feel strongly that the next year's federal budget, next couple of years federal budget, I think it's been announced, whether it's the Obama administration or the Romney administration, there's going to be a focus on infrastructure. And people sometimes confuse just a straight telecommunications infrastructure with just placing cable and building towers and equipment and such. Anytime there's a major roadway that's being repaired, or there's a bridge being repaired, or there's a natural disaster area such as New Orleans or, God forbid, something like Haiti, there's a significant opportunity for an upgrade to the infrastructure. So every road you see and every bridge you see being rebuilt, there is usually a pathway for a fiber optic cable or a new tower or even a low, what we're calling distributed antenna systems, the low power wireless transmitters. So there's going to be a significant opportunity over the next several years in that area. And then obviously our clients, our carrier clients are, it's kind of keep up with the Joneses. If AT&T is going out there and upgrading to LTE, then Verizon's got to do it. And if Verizon goes out and, adds some new technology, then AT&T follows right behind it.
It's funny when you talk about the upgrade to infrastructure. I would consider myself very close to being an expert in the DoD, if you will, for a variety of reasons. And many of the bases have been laying fiber optics and everything that you can possibly imagine. And I'm sure that some of those things are exactly where you're talking about. But there is a huge, huge, huge push to upgrade all of those pieces on all the installations throughout the world. It's pretty amazing what's actually happening right now.
It absolutely
I know
is. And it absolutely is. And you're exactly right. And I think, as they're, everybody thinks, okay, the Department of Defense is shrinking, they're shrinking their budgets. Well, they're shrinking their manpower and certain of their systems budgets for their, tanks and airplanes and things like that. But as they close bases, why they are upgrading these bases is because they're taking and putting more people on those bases, so they're spending the money on the infrastructure, just as you said.
You're right, and you know what a telling tale is. If you went on DoD Gov Jobs or USA Jobs and look for IT ET professionals, they're averaging. They're 70% of the jobs that everyone's looking for, but meaning that the government's actually looking for that. So you're right up the alley. Where did the concept originate from for you?
Well, the concept, if you can believe this, actually originated probably in the early 90s for what I think that we're doing today, and it really came around the genesis of the split of the Bell system. And what happened was they put a lot of the things that the carrier business did traditionally when it came to cable and equipment and those kind of things that they used to do. Well, they started putting that on the private citizen, the private company, and so because the Bell system had operated probably for 80 or 90 years, there wasn't a lot of expertise in this area. So kind of decided to start up an engineering company in the early 90s, but hopefully 15 or 20 guys, and we ended up growing it to 500 employees and about 50 million in sales. And I don't think we're going to get the revenue side is going to go quite that fast, but the profitability side, if it's run correctly, is actually greater than it was at that period of time.
Now earlier we touched on a little bit of the industry. I'd like to kind of dive into if you could elaborate on the significance of the industry and the specific or targeted applications for your service and technology. Let's go there.
Well, what we try to do is, I think we're one of the rare firms that really offers what's called an EF&I, an engineer, furnish, and install. We kind of start off with engineering capabilities. So if a client came to us and said, "Hey, we want to build a system in Costa Rica," which we have been approached, and so we can start off. We do an engineering design, a preliminary design with them, and then they say, "Okay, well, we like what you're doing. It's going to cost X. We'd like you to move to phase 2." Well, we have the ability to procure the materials. We work with the manufacturers. We're certified with all the major ones, Lucent, Alcatel-Lucent now. It used to be Nortel, and I forgot what they're called now, but a lot of these parts have been bought off. But so we can procure the materials, and obviously the last phase is the actual installation and construction business. So I guess you could say we're probably one of the few firms that offers what's called EF&I services.
Understand. Now, when you earlier you mentioned Northrop Grumman, and I believe you were talking about General Dynamics. Are you working with L3, level 3 as well?
Yes, L3, working with SAIC, and again, we're kind of targeted because obviously they're at the same time those guys are trying to do as much of the work as they can, but when they get into a hot spot or a tight jam, they end up pulling you in. They pull us in for a lot of projects, and then what ends up happening is they see how easy. I shouldn't say easy. It's easier for us to do it. It seems like we're a little bit more nimble than those folks. And so it just becomes a pipeline, for their business. I mean, we really started working with General Dynamics in, I believe it was in 2001 or 2002, and they actually were teamed up with EDS at the time was the largest IT infrastructure project in the world. It was a $12 billion complete rebuild of the Navy and Marine Corps Internet, and it was called NMCI. And again, got in there with them on just a couple of the bases because they needed some help, and the next thing you know, we ended up doing 12 of the Navy bases in Southern California.
The irony to that is I know everything about what you're talking about.
And they say NMCI2 is right around the corner.
That's the word on the street. NMCI is one of the. You're talking just huge money. I mean, huge, and I know exactly where you're at with this. Now, well, let's go to the business plan. I mean, at what stage would you describe to the audience as a snapshot of your current operations?
I would say that because these last couple of years have been tight. We've been focused mostly on engineering work. There hasn't been a lot of deployment, other than in the wireless area, that there's been a lot of LTE out here. We operate primarily in the West Coast, Western U.S., so there's been a lot of work in the wireless side with LTE and what they call fiber to the cell site. So I would say we're early stage development, I guess you could say. It's that, but these companies such as ours follow almost like a cookbook procedure. Is that you're at this stage of the game where you have all your basics in place. You have your personnel, and you have your engineering group, and you have your construction group, and you have your installation group. Because what happens is when the work picks up, which we anticipate again is going to be this year, with the infrastructure coming from the administration and the telecom side that needs to be upgraded. There's a significant amount of wireless upgrades still left to do here in the United States. That we have the platform in place now, and so what we're doing is now it's a scalable type project. So as the stuff and the work comes in, it's just a matter of scale. Add engineers, add construction personnel, add installation personnel. So I would say we're at ground floor opportunity right now.
Yeah. Now that you're venturing into that next stage of your business plan, what are your expectations in the short term?
Well, what we like to do is, again, we're focused not so much on a revenue model anymore. I guess I would say that the 90s was, I guess you could say, was the revenue model. The 2000s is the profitability model. So we've sacrificed projects because they just didn't have the return necessary for the company. So this going forward is the focus is going to be on profitable projects with profitable companies with solid business plans. We don't like to go, it used to be in the 90s you go out and do a lot of work for startups, and to be honest with you, some days you got paid and some days you didn't. The days of those, are kind of gone. There's a lot of startups out there, but our focus is to try and build our group organically. We are looking at some acquisitions. But again, they're not the very large acquisitions. They're really more of the small gorilla type guys, the guys with 15, 25, 35 employees that have a backlog of clients, and they're looking for some management help and some financing help. And that's kind of where we think we're going to be going.
Now, do you have any strategic alliances or partners? And if so, could you elaborate on the topic, specifically focusing on, what they bring to your company and how it benefits each of you?
Basically, what's kind of happened is that because a lot of the you've probably read quite a bit about the broadband stimulus projects that have come out. We have two actually sizable projects here in California. One is called Digital 395, runs from Carson City to Edwards Air Force Base. The other one is ties Northern California into Central California down by Bakersfield. Those projects were approximately $50 to $60 million each of construction, and at our stage of the game, you have to bond all that capacity. So what we've done is we've teamed up with a couple of companies. Like, I don't want to say the names, but they're more mid-cap players in our space, where they're primarily on the East Coast, and again, we're on the West Coast. And I think one of the things we have a huge advantage of is a lot of the major players in our space. When you look at a Dycom or a Mastech or a Quanta Services, we are one of the very few firms that have a strong presence in the Western U.S. So we get a lot of inquiries to partner with those types of folks on a lot of different projects.
Excellent. Hey, Mr. Delgado, I assume you're calling from a cell phone?
Yes, an LTE cell phone.
Perfect. Wherever you're standing right now, I would stay there. Every once in a while you're coming in and out. I just want to make sure that the audience is able to hear everything that you have to say.
I apologize. I should be. I haven't moved. I'm in just in the spot. But again, there's another opportunity there.
There you go. Money-making opportunities everywhere. Now, beyond the service and technology itself, what are the longer-term goals? Say 1 year and 5 years from now of the company, and how are you planning to get there from here? Specifically, commenting on the catalysts and milestone events you anticipate, say, in the next year.
Well, we put out some projections. We put out a five-year revenue projection I believe we put that out in December of last year. And so we're kind of looking at, you've got to set goals for yourself and the company, both yourself and the company. And so we've set out some relatively conservative goals on revenue. We believe very strongly that we're gonna make those numbers. And so we'll look at them, obviously each year to increase our revenue, to increase our profitability. I think that if we execute the plan as I expect over probably the next 5 to 7 years, we're probably going to be a candidate for somebody to scoop us up later. We had a company, one of our clients, which is Sure West Communications here in California. They just got picked up by, I believe it was Quality Communications, Continental Communications for $340 million. Now, we don't expect $340 million for the company, but I certainly could see that this company could be acquired, in a 5 or 10 year period, somewhere between $50 and $100 million.
That would be pretty amazing. I'm sure your shareholders that are listening would be pretty excited about that. You mentioned California a couple of times, and especially with your area, and a lot of people don't understand this, so I'm going to kind of explain this. There are so many DoD infrastructure or installations, if you will, in your area going all the way down that coastline and inside, that it's kind of mind-boggling. People don't quite realize because every branch of service covers that whole area. So you're like right in the middle of a lot of stuff. I mean, and I'm sure that's a huge market penetration for you. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. We actually, because we're kind of in the Central California region, we extend all the way to Seattle, all the way to Portland, through Sacramento, San Francisco, into Los Angeles, all the way into Phoenix. And then as we move west, we're Las Vegas, Reno, Salt Lake City, and Denver are all solid targets, and again, are all expansion targets for offices for the company. So, and again, if you put it down on a map, you would see how equidistant they all are from each other, and how you can reach pretty much your target market from any of those cities, which is again pretty substantial.
Now, do you go all the way down to Camp Pendleton and San Diego and all of that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. We're doing work. We haven't done anything in Pendleton this last year, but we were in L.A. And I'm trying to remember the installation that we were at in L.A. We've looked at some projects at the Naval Air Station in San Diego, and again, we looked at a project outside of Phoenix. And so we've been looking actually all over, seen some stuff over in New Mexico at White Sands. So yeah, we've been looking in those areas because I think that's another target. I think because there's so many more down there that the government's putting a lot more money in that area.
Well, for our audiences, SA is for those that don't know, the administration and DoD in essence recently has kind of shifted some strategic objectives, if you will, for the nation, and where all of the focus is shifting from Europe, if you will, the Atlantic, to the Pacific. So that's the reason for the big buildup that's happening, where on the Pacific side, where you're cutting off that 4,000 miles of distance travel and certain things like that. And I'm sure that's what you're seeing right now and will be seeing for a very long time. I mean, even the Marine Corps from pieces of that from Japan are actually moving to Guam and that infrastructure. I mean, you're right. You're definitely right in the groove pitch of what's actually happening out there. So it's good on you, and I'm sure you're pretty excited about the events that will unfold over the course of the next few years for sure.
Yes, we are, and the thing is, we've actually been asked. It's funny you said Guam, because we've been asked to go over to Guam to take a look at some engineering projects over there, and again, Japan also, because we do have obviously a substantial presence there. So we have the opportunity to do some international work. We have not pulled the trigger on that yet, but again, a substantial project comes up with one of your key clients, and they're willing to basically finance it for you. Why not?
Absolutely. Now, let's kind of shift to the shareholder investor side. What's your current share structure?
I think we have actually a pretty nice share structure going. We have approximately 33 million shares outstanding. We actually have about, when we did our September report, we had only about 1 million shares in the float. Now, since then, we have added we had one shareholder convert a note and added a couple million shares. But basically what he's done is he's actually been helping the company out because he's been a very knowledgeable shareholder. He's been working with a bunch of different marketing groups and helping us out to get the word out to the street. So I would say, like I said, we have about 33 million outstanding and probably about 4 to 4.5 million now on the float. And we're starting to see some good, strong activity in the stock. It's very nice to see. And as we have, these types of interviews and put some news out, people are starting to get out there, hear our story.
Did you say your float is 4 to 5 million?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Okay. That may be the lowest float, I think, in the history of Stock Traders Talk Radio, actually. I'll have to double check that, but I think so.
Yeah. It sounds funny, but that's really what it is. And it's funny because we actually did change our transfer agent this year. We went over to New York Stock Transfer, which we're really happy with. Mike Adamo and his team over there just do an outstanding job. And we're kind of like a small package of dynamite. We're ready to go, and not many people know about what we're doing. And once we get going, the word's going to be out. But we have a share structure that's very conducive to financing, and we have about 152 shareholders, so it's not like we have 800, 900. We'd like to have 8 or 900, but we don't have 3. So.
Well, I'm sure with some of the things that you're talking about and people getting to understand where you're going and what you're doing, that will all change. Now, regarding your transfer agent, are they open for investors to inquire about the share structure of your company?
Absolutely. I encourage anybody that wants to know what we're doing to verify our numbers. Give him a call. Mike is very responsive. He has been fielding quite a few calls the last few weeks. We've had a lot of investor activity, people looking at the company, and he's been very responsive, and so we encourage it.
Now, what are your potential revenue streams?
Well, we've projected for our fiscal 2012, which will end December 31st of this year, where December 31 year is approximately $6.5 million, which means probably not a lot for a lot of people, but I feel really good that our net income line is probably going to be about $1.5 million to $1.6 million on that revenue base. Again, we've had the opportunity to probably triple that revenue, but it's funny, we get the same amount of profitability out of doing this, the triple amount of revenue. So again, looking at focusing on the bottom line, we have a significant, when we actually did our reverse merger back in 2004. We picked up a net loss, about a $3 million net, trying to get the words out, net tax loss carry forward. And so we feel pretty good that we'll have a minimal tax bill at the end of the year, too.
Now, what does your balance sheet look like?
The balance sheet is probably of the of an early stage company. No debt. We have no debt at all. We have trade payables. That's pretty much it. We have approximately $300,000 of property, plant, and equipment. But again, that's probably going to change here pretty significantly after 1 or 2 of the acquisitions and our financing completion.
No debt, acquisitions, and a $5 million float. All right. Okay. Very impressive. Do you have a website?
Yes, our website. And I apologize for the website because it's being upgraded right now. It's at gdsi.co, one of the new websites.
Now, once that's being updated, would you consider that the best resource for potential investors to learn more about your company?
Yes, absolutely. It should be ready to go, and I'm hoping probably about 2 to 3 weeks. So we're trying to expand it. It's basic. It's got information on the company, but we're trying to make it a little bit more interactive and a little bit more, I guess you'd say, user-friendly, because we are a diverse company, and we want to make sure that all the things that we're doing are captured in the website.
Now, what do you think makes GDSI a good investment for potential investors? I mean, more importantly, if you had a 5-minute elevator speech that would represent the excitement of the future of your company, what would it be?
Well, I think you've hit it, Chris, on the head. The opportunities in the Department of Defense area, the infrastructure investment that's going to be here over the next few years, what makes our company special and maybe a little bit different than a lot of these other guys, including some of the bigger players, we have multiple revenue streams. We have an engineering revenue stream. We have a construction revenue stream. We have an installation revenue stream. We have a revenue stream coming from carriers, AT&T and Verizon. We have a direct federal, state, and local government revenue stream. We have a revenue stream from all the major Department of Defense contractors. So we have multiple revenue streams, multiple lines of business within the same environment, which is very rare. A lot of times people focus on one, they're focused on engineering, or they're focused on construction, or they're focused on installation. They miss out on these other opportunities. The engineering group feeds the construction group feeds the installation group feeds the engineering group. And I think when you look at companies and you evaluate where can they get the maximum amount of dollars, profitability dollars from their revenue streams, you're looking at the company that can do it.
Oh, I would agree with what you're saying. I know a lot of the things that you're talking about firsthand, and you're right on point. Definitely keep going in the direction that you're going. We've covered a lot of information. Is there anything else you would like to address that I didn't cover?
No, I appreciate it. I mean, I think it's nice, getting to talk to some guys that have, kind of been out here in this field. I know Mike and I talked a little bit earlier, had some similar backgrounds, and it was very nice you guys having me on here and getting a chance to kind of tell what we got going on up there.
Well, excellent. Well, Mr. Delgado, we would like to thank you and for taking the time out to speak to our audience, and also would like to extend you an open invitation to join us on the radio show in the future as your company develops even further.
I appreciate that, and like I said, if you guys have any needs for any engineering, construction, installation, and you find a project, feel free to contact me.
Absolutely. Well, sir, have a very good evening, and thanks for being on Stock Traders Talk Radio.
Thank you. Thank you again. Have a nice evening.
You too. That was Mr. Bill Delgado, the CEO and President of Global Digital Solutions, stock ticker GDSI. That's you guys ever hear of a float that low? That's
wow.
No debt, 4 to 5 million float, and multiple revenue streams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, the 4 to 5 million float, it sounds like 2 million are in pretty tight, long hands too.
Absolutely. You guys know I know this background pretty good when it comes to the DoD side. It's what I do, and this is like a part-time gig for me that I just enjoy, and this is my passion, doing radio. The NNMCI side and the certain things that he was talking about are just blowing up. Fiber optics and certain things are just going everywhere. See, what's happened is a few years ago, everything went to computers. Now you got to understand this. You go in the Best Buy to buy a computer happens quickly, right? And you're able to use it. When for sailors, soldiers, Marines and airmen to be able to have these infrastructures and these stations, because everything's going to be computerized now, right? You're on major servers, you're on major networks that cover each other and are very huge, absolutely ridiculously huge, covering the entire world globally, okay? That's how big what he's talking about actually is. Well, a lot of these systems are older, meaning, you guys remember the 133 megahertz and certain things like that, right? Right. There's many computers still out there to this day, and many areas that are still operating on older wire, if you will. Nothing is fast. So everything that you guys are getting, whether it be something that Verizon has put in, this DoD side is very, very far behind that. Now, here's the trick to this, okay? In the DOD, the big dogs, we'll call it, major headquarters, places where you're doing a lot of top secret or stuff that would include national security or whatever. They get the top of the line of stuff immediately, right? As you would expect, right? Well, underneath them, there's a lot of different units that spread out throughout the entire world, bases all over the place. And where he's at in California, you got everything that you can possibly imagine when it comes to installations and certain things like that. Much of them being very, very old, infrastructure-wise, as far as some of those things. Some places don't even have fiber optics. It's very, very archaic compared to most areas. Well, you have to be able to communicate with your higher-ups. So that means everybody has to get it, or there's an issue in the command and control. So, the C2 side of this. So what's happening is as the more of an influence goes to the Pacific and those type of things, especially with the Guam piece and all of that, and I'm sure he didn't want to go into that because he's probably wanting to win some contracts and certain things like that. I'm talking ridiculously huge. There's 7,000 Marines, I believe, and probably more, that are leaving Japan, and Guam is being built up to be a major hub. Well, the infrastructure in Guam is, very, older, if you will, and is not set up to be able to support that as of now. So they got to do barracks, housing, infrastructure. I mean, everything that you can possibly imagine to be able to have that robust amount of people. And there's a lot of situations and other bases that are doing certain things like that, and I can't get into a lot of those details. Bottom line is what I've just said is public information, and what he's saying infrastructure-wise and touching on, the Obama administration and what they're doing is pure growth, and he's going to get a piece of that pie, no doubt about it.
Wow.
But that's my 2 cents.
That was
I think it's greater than 2 cents.
That was like a nickel and dime. Now it's 15 cents. I'm listening lately.
I know. I should, the QT. I should have slowed down there, huh?
No, I'm like, this is great stuff. I couldn't write fast enough to keep up with you. But
are you taking notes?
Of course, it's the OCD thing. I mean, hey, writer's cramp, whatever. I have to write it down because my life is so boring that I want to go back and read my notes later on after the show.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to do something in Monterey.
Wow.
I'll be curious. I would like to definitely talk to him offline. You guys know what's in Monterey, don't you?
The aquarium?
Well, absolutely. The aquarium needs fiber optics. Yes.
Sorry.
Where the Monterey area is, you have the national. It's called DLI as well as NPS. DLI is the Defense Language Institute, and NPS is the Naval Postgraduate School. Now, the problem that you have there is not all of it is MCI anywhere, or the infrastructure. Fiber optics is, it's schools, it's learning. But when the DLI piece, why it's really, really important, is this is where soldiers, every service actually, is trained to be able to speak special languages or different languages for different jobs. All right, so let's say you have an intel officer or something like that, to where or a crypto guy or something, where maybe he's going to be involved with something with needs to learn Mandarin Chinese or something, and not to single that out, but that's where they go. So there's a huge pool of people there, as well as some older infrastructures that have actually closed down. So when they did this BRAC process, you guys know what that is? BRAC is basically where they consolidated a lot of bases and closed down some bases. Well, when they did that, they moved everybody into like a central hub, but the infrastructures and pieces weren't fully built. So they're still building them and upgrading them. And he is right smack dab in the mix of that. And the names that he's throwing around when you're talking about General Dynamics and level 3 and Northrop Grumman, that's big time game right there. It doesn't get any bigger.
Wow.
This is
very cool.
There's this huge potential growth for them in all avenues. I know from the telecom side, and he didn't really touch on this, so I will touch on it. A lot of people think that because you're dealing with a Verizon or an AT&T, things of that nature, you're thinking huge company, why aren't they doing it themselves? Well, back in the day, 20, 25 years ago, we used to have crews that would go out and hang cable and put poles in and put the terminals up and stuff like that. Well, the company decided to cut back on that division. So realistically, like where I am now, we don't have anything called a line crew, okay? We have people that go out and will work on cable and fix it, but not replace it. So when it needs replacement, our company calls a company such as his and says, can you replace this section for us or this area here we need to redo?
So you subcontract, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, they're always looking. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're not doing this on a daily basis. So for the company to hire people and keep them employed, it's a little tough in that area. I mean, you take Verizon, for instance, okay? Verizon spent billions and billions of dollars to create Fios, okay, which is literally fiber optics to the side of your house. Now, they are, as far as I know, okay, the only company to do it so far. There are instances where there's fiber, what's called fiber to the curb, okay, which means it's out in front of your house, and then they run copper to your house. Even stuff inside the telecom buildings, a lot of it is contracted out to be installed. So there's just a tremendous amount of work. Like our latest thing here is what's called the Calyx system, and I know nobody's going to know what I'm talking about, but that's put in by a contracting company. We do not install that. We use it, but we do not install it. So just to straighten out that end of it, because I'm sure, like I said, people thinking, well, it's the, Verizon, they do it themselves. Well, that's not the case at all. So anyway, that's my take on it. I could go on for like an hour if you really wanted me to. You want to listen to me?
Please do.
Come on, I gave you guys a lesson last night on how cell phones work. And he touched on it tonight when he told you that they're running fiber to the tower, what they call fiber to the tower. Okay? You all thinking that a cell phone just runs through the air all the way out there. That doesn't happen. Can't. It's impossible. Well, it's not possible.
No magic involved?
Yeah, magic. A few numbers and so many answers the other side. Magical. Anything else to add there, Mr. Kopp? I can't talk about the DoD side of it. I just can tell you about the infrastructures.
Well, it all goes hand in hand, and the customers need the stuff right now, and better than anybody how difficult it is for all of these companies, these installations, these areas to be able to keep up with the times as fast as communications is moving, and it's just plenty of work out there, that's for sure.
I mean, right now you're looking at fiber optics. I mean, does it get beyond that? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the end all say all to communications, but fiber optics is the way to go. They know it. And like I said, Verizon knew it, and they did it. The other companies are kind of stepping back from it. I mean, it's like everything else. You got the cable companies. I'm sure he does work for the cable companies, too. We didn't ask that. He didn't mention it, but I'm going to add that in as potential business for them. To lay a cable is to lay a cable, whether it's a cable company or a phone company. So anyway, I'm done because, like I said, I could talk for,
Good stuff. No.
Love it.
Really good stuff.
And the company's very appealing with the float and so forth. The share structure's incredible.
My God.
That is the lowest. Was I right on that?
Can somebody tell me what they're trading at right now?
I believe they're trading at around 13 cents.
13, yeah.
It's been pretty low volume though. So
13 cents.
Yeah. And then you put on top of that the multiple revenue streams that he was talking about, engineering, construction, installation, the carriers like AT&T, the DoD. I mean, there's just a lot to take in on that in regards to revenue.
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
It's diverse, to say the least.
Absolutely.
To say the least. Okay. All right. Let's take a small commercial break, and we'll be back after these words here at Stock Traders Talk Radio.
PennyChatterStocks.com, where our network becomes your game. There is no need for 6 or 7 sites to track your penny stock buds. We've got chat, forums, blogs. You can integrate your Twitter, Facebook, Google+, MailChimp emailers all on one site so that your following comes with you. All it comes down to is the network, www.pennychatterstocks.com.
Where we outweigh the competition, pushing and shoving our way to extreme profits in the penny stock arena. Go to stocksumo.com today to sign up for our free alerts via email or text message. Stocksumo.com, where the gains are groundbreaking. Don't just take our word for it. Find out firsthand by heading over to stocksumo.com, home of the real heavy hitters.
Well, I'm talking about liquid. Rich enough to have your own jet. Rich enough not to waste time. Well, in my book, you either do it right or you get eliminated. They're analysts. They don't know preferred stock from livestock, all right? The new law of evolution in corporate America seems to be survival of the unfittest.
Welcome back to Stock Traders Talk Radio. I'm your host, STT. Joining me on tonight's program, I have Ka, Haas, and QT Cal. Everybody back with me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that interview ran a little longer than planned, I think. I don't know. Maybe. Did it? I think we ran a few minutes over. Over. I was waiting for QT to come in with the bell, but she never did.
Saving that for another day.
Okay. Well, tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully tomorrow we'll get you with the bell and all that good stuff going on.
Sweet.
All righty, now let's move on with the show and take a look, and it's going to have to be a quick look at the top 10 stocks for today. Haas, lead us off, sir.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Well, we're going to start off with number 10. Right now we're on the iHub homepage. We got Sirona Biochem Corp, ticker SRBCF. It's a TSX Venture Exchange stock. Not a whole lot of volume today. We have 100,000 share volume today, minus 2%, sitting at 10 cents. Basically what these guys do is they develop proteins through recombination processes. So think like developing insulin for diabetes patients and things like that. And recently they had some news out on the production of insulin. So one to keep an eye on in the future. If they get that insulin product marketed properly, they could be bringing in some big revenue soon. So just keep an eye on it. Moving on to number 9. A stock that was featured a while back on Stock Trader Talk Radio, NSRS, North Spring Resources, massive volume today, 120 million share volume, minus 27.24%, sitting at 43 cents. There was a massive run recently from 13 cents to $1.72. I think Kopp detailed that pretty well. Harry Lappa, the president of the company, was basically holding a bunch of shares. They did some forward splits, so he had even more shares. So basically, I think our conclusion was he was pumping that up as high as possible to get rid of his shares and make a bunch of money. But those guys have their Imperial gold-silver property that they're currently exploring. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll be a trader's paradise over the next few months with the massive volume and wild swings going on there. Moving down the line, AERN is sitting at number 8, AER Energy Resources Incorporated. Also, some decent volume on that one today, 106 million share volume, plus 12.7%, trading at 0.0071. So sub-penny stock here. Day's trading range was 0.0068 to 0.0129. They had news today. They acquired 3 Oklahoma oil and gas leases from a Fort Worth, Texas company, Texas Energy Incorporated, which is projected to bring in as much as $20 million in annual revenues after they get their drilling going throughout the course of this year and next year, 2012, 2013. Provided that their drilling is successful, they could be bringing in some nice revenues there. So I want to keep an eye on with that volume. And also a trader's paradise, considering it's trading on 100% spreads throughout the day today on high volume. Moving down the line, we have, number 7, STKO, Stockcool Incorporated. And actually, I've received some messages on this one over the last couple of days. Basically, what these guys do is they have various types of health products. I think their key one is a health bar right now that they're putting out into the market. You got a pretty nice share structure, 25 million float, 62 million outstanding share count, trading at 1.3 cents. Basically, it was down all day on some pretty decent volume, 7.5 million volume. So it was basically a sell-off all day, which isn't too enticing, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on as their product hits the market here and they start bringing in some revenues, especially with a nice share structure. Number 6 is BCAP. We've mentioned this one several times on the show. Barron Capital Enterprise Incorporated. This is a Trip Zero stock, traded at your own risk. Today we had 50 million volume, plus 20%. Basically what these guys have done is they've created their own transfer agency for the penny markets, especially dealing with some of these companies that are having issues with DTCC and their stock clearing on various other transfer agencies. And they have a conference call coming up this Friday. They're bringing 2 more public or private companies public through their transfer agency, and the details on that will be on the conference call, so I'm sure people might buy some stock pending that conference call. Moving down the line, let's see. Number 5, we have Rapid Fire Marketing, RFMK. Our own STT Mike here, his genius idea of developing a cannabis-based e-cigarette. And this one's been pretty hot for the last month or so. Today, 27 million volume, plus 2.13%, trading at about half a penny, 0.0048. Day's trading range, 0.0045 to 0055. We have a 2 billion authorized share count, 744 million outstanding share count, and 440 million float. So quite a few shares out there, but obviously this is a huge market. They have the CannaSig, medical cannabis e-cigarette, set to hit the markets and stuff. So, you know, people, once these cannabis stocks get hot, it's kind of hard to stop them. They've had some massive runs in the past. You know, some of the stocks like CBIS. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on with the high volume and volatility. And if their cannabis-based medical e-cigarette gets really hot, this company could be bringing in some very, very significant revenues in the future. Number 4, one of our favorites here at STT Radio, called at 0.001, GDSM, Gold Coast Mining Corp. This one's been very hot over the last couple of weeks. 29 million in volume today, minus 15%, trading currently at 0.0055. Day's trading range is 0.0051 to 0.008, which is, well, it's basically a sell-off today, but I think it was due for a pullback since it's been hot since 0.001. Some decent volume still. Basically, on February 14th, yesterday, they announced a new joint venture to acquire the Gold Star mine claims, and that joint venture is with Western Sierra Mining Corp. And within that press release, they also announced that the details of the financials dealing with that joint venture partnership will be detailed in an 8K to come out within the next 7 to 10 days. So some more news in the near future coming there. And there's been some pretty high accumulation going on there and gradually increasing volume as we head towards a penny, which I honestly think it's going to be hitting a penny here over the short term. So I want to keep an eye on. Moving down the list, SNDY, Solos Endoscopy Incorporated is sitting at number 3. Various types of endoscopy products. This one's been super hot, major run from the 0.001 to 0.002 area to over a penny. 107.5 million in volume today, minus 41%. So major pullback today. Currently sitting at 0.006, which is near the low of the day. Day's trading range was 0.0058 to 0.0115. February 14th, yesterday, announced that they retired 150 million common shares. That caused a huge spike into the penny land. And today was just basically a sell-off after the big spike, people taking profits, but still want to keep an eye on. Their products are hitting the market this year. They're various endoscopy products, so they'll probably start bringing in some nice revenues towards the end of the year here. Now sitting at number 2, we have Biosante Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, BPAX. This one's also been pretty hot lately. The FDA just approved their BioT gel today. It's Biosante gel, and it's for male low testosterone, so it's basically a testosterone product. And they license that to Teva Pharmaceuticals, so they'll receive royalties on any sales that they get there. We're basically looking at, $1.5 to $2 billion market, which is growing every single day. So expect some significant revenues for BPAX into the future here. Plus 27% today on 52 million volume, so some major money and accumulation coming here around this dollar range. Trading range 93 cents to 123. And basically what happened with these guys is before this product got approved for male low testosterone, it got refused. They were trying to test it with women as a testosterone treatment for women, and it just didn't meet the correct endpoint, so the FDA didn't approve it, so stock took a big dip, and now they just got it approved for an alternative use. So I would expect the share price to go up over the near term. Sitting at number 1, we have Atrinsic Incorporated, ATRN. I would call this probably STT Radio's favorite stock since we started doing this show. Almost hit 50 bagger today from our call at 0.0088. Just massive volume again, 60 million in volume, minus 34%. So it took a massive dip today towards the end of the day. It reached highs of 36 cents. Took a big dip down to 15 cents. Trader's paradise. Ramped all the way back up to 25, 26 cent area and started selling off again towards the end of the day to finish at 17.5 cents. So massive trading range today, massive volume. It basically just fell off a cliff towards the end of the day, and I'm sure some here took advantage of that and, banked on the trade just within the last hour or so of the day there. I don't know what else to say about that one. That one's just been crazy. And that's all I got, guys. Guys, got anything to add?
Haas, that was awesome.
That was good.
I'm surprised that Cop didn't interrupt you at ATRN to tell everybody how he was right yesterday about selling. All those were.
I think we all got about 10 messages on that. Yeah, so here. Looks like a good idea, doesn't it?
I don't know. Maybe he was afraid that the bell was going to come in if he spoke about it or interrupted you in your last 2 minutes.
No, we don't know Cop sold at the right time.
In my defense, I posted on the board that I sold.
You did.
And everybody in the world can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm pretty open about it because
25 cents, right?
25 cents.
Yeah.
And it went a little higher. I get that, but I was seeing certain things that I was okay with the amount of bags that I was able to pull from that.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
That was
sick.
That was like a 45 bagger.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Haas, I have to say that was very, very good with the top 10. And what I got mostly out of that was the fact that, is there any correlation between cannabis, electronic cigarettes, and low testosterone in men? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know. We need to hook those two companies up. Maybe they can develop some sort of drug together.
Oh, see, now that would be a plan. Like, you take those two to the top 10, you put them together. I mean, I'm seeing like major bagger there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I have a few buddies. We can probably just run some tests on them and figure that out real quick.
We won't even need the lab rats.
We won't need the lab rats.
I'm
done with that. I'm done with that part of my life.
We need to sign waivers, though, just to make sure we're out of legal trouble on that, though.
Oh, sure.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
No.
I don't know. I think money is coming back into this penny market. I'm loving this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it is. Nice times.
It's been good.
Yes.
Okay, if you missed last night's show, don't forget we had a special on non-DTCC stocks with Mikey and Big Bake One. You can find that show on Investors Hub under videos and market commentary. Look for our new banner there. You'll see it. It's bright. It's shiny. It's exciting. It's very good. Did you see the new banners, guys?
I did. Those are really nice.
Beautiful.
They came out a little bit brighter.
Mike, you're a genius.
You are, Mike.
I'm not a genius.
Bravo.
I'm not a genius. I sent Haas a file earlier.
I couldn't open it.
And he turns to me and goes, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, it opens in Internet Explorer and you should be able to watch it. Well, I guess he couldn't figure that out because there's no oohs and ahs.
Come on, man.
It is very, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, you got to let your computer do the work for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an Internet Explorer file. And all you have to do is click on it, and Internet Explorer will open, and a video will play for you.
I'll try this again.
It has diamond plate. It has laser beams.
Wow.
Freaking laser beams?
Yep.
The last time I saw laser beams was when I was at the roller rink.
That was not lately, was it?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Good call. Wow.
It's a great form of exercise, by the way.
Okay, don't forget, next Wednesday is our big guard dog, GRDO, 15 Seconds of Fame, CEO interview. That's Wednesday night, the 23rd, is that right?
22nd.
23rd?
22nd.
22nd? 22nd. That's Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, we will have another stock spotlight for you. We're hoping to mix it up and do two. We'll have to see how everything works out with Sifakia and see if he'll be able to join us or not tomorrow.
I got an idea for Amy.
Okay.
I think Amy and Sumo should go on a date. They can go bowling, and then they can go skating. Just an idea. Just an idea.
Why do we have to talk about bowling?
Bowling.
I don't know. Our hosts just have such weird hobbies, so we may as well just team up and be weird together, right?
It's not even a sport, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I have seen bowling featured on ESPN a couple times. So
yeah, but anything that you can go do and drink alcohol and pizza at the same time,
true.
Yeah.
It's not a sport. I'm sorry.
True.
You know, I just can't categorize it as a sport. But anyway, from all of us here at Stock Traders Talk Radio, to all of you out there in Stock Trader Talk Radio land, we're wishing you the best tomorrow in all your trades, and may your portfolio be green. This is STT Radio, and we are out.
Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio. All views and topics talked about on Stock Traders Talk Radio is solely for entertainment purposes. We are not professional financial advisors and always recommend you seek the advice of a professional financial advisor. Never invest in any stock featured on our show unless you can afford to lose your entire investment. The information contained on our show is based on sources which we believe to be reliable. but is not guaranteed by us as being accurate, and might not be a complete statement or summary of the available data. Stock Traders Talk Radio advises that the investments in companies profiled are commonly considered to be high risk, and use of the information provided is at the investor's sole risk. Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio.